Hello, my favorite algebra students. I hope you guys are doing well. Good work, a lot of you. I hope that I'm not holding you up as far as class or as videos go, because I'm trying to keep up with you guys to make sure that we're staying the same, right? So let me get this all straight out, so that you guys aren't waiting for me to make videos. So I appreciate your flexibility on this. All right, so we're going to talk today about exponents, and I love exponents because we got some rules that we can go along with on those. So here's the deal with exponents, just in case you forgot. 2 to the, I don't like using 2. Let's start with quick reminder, 3 squared equals 9, because we're taking 3 and we are multiplying it 2 times. So 3 times 3, make it 3 times 3 equals 9. Guys, if you take you need to be taking notes in your section, in the video section, and videos or notes section, right? And writing all these down and doing your practice problems as well. Okay, guys, if you take nothing away from today, you need to take this and you are going to write it down and you are going to highlight it and you are going to star it and you are going to put a flag by it, because this will be a common mistake that I see over and over again. -3 squared equals -3 times -3, which equals negative times a negative is a positive, that equals 9. Okay, here's a different one, -3 squared. What this is saying, my sweet and precious children, is do all this garbage first. I'm trying not to get the purple in my yellow pen. It says do all that garbage first. 3 squared is 9. Then slap a negative on it, -9. Do you see the difference? This one is this. This is this. So what I want you to write down on like the next 3 pages as you're working is this little key for you to remember. This is why, so do you see the difference? If there are parentheses, it is positive, at least for squared, okay? This is why it's really important, or this is gonna be really important when we do order of operation. If you are in algebraic expressions, if you're plugging in numbers, they have to, and they're negative numbers, you gotta use parentheses, okay? So if you take nothing else away from today, take this lesson right here away, that they are different, okay? So let's look at some of these examples here. 3 squared is 9, right? 3 squared equals 3 times 3, which equals 9. 3 to the 3rd power, oh, you know what I want you guys to do? On your notes page, okay, you're gonna put a little section. We are gonna go with these. These are gonna come up often. I'm so excited about it, I can't even use my own words. These are gonna come up often. 2 squared equals 2 times 2, right? That's 4. 2 to the 3rd power. That's 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8. 2 to the 4th power equals 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. Do you see that I'm doubling these as I go along? There's a game, I'm gonna show you my phone really quick. There's this game called 2048. You may have seen this, right? 2048. What I like about that, oh, now you guys all know my screen. I don't even know if that's relevant for Game Center. I like playing games. I play a lot of Toon Blast. My husband's like rolling his eyes. Okay, so, but the reason why I was saying that is because you slide these squares into each other, and every time you slide them into each other, they double, right? So you slide 2 4s together, you get 8. Slide 2 8s together, you get 16. Slide 2 16s together. But anyway, the point being that it helps you learn all these guys. So I want you to have little notes on your notes section. You're gonna be writing these down because you're gonna reference these a lot. Also, I want you to get real familiar with these numbers so that when you see number 64, you think, that's a friendly number. I don't remember what it is, but I gotta go look it up, okay? 64, 32, any of those tiles, if you've ever played that game, when you see those, think, oh gosh, that's a base 2. So this is a base, this is an exponent, right? 64 double 28, 128, 2 to the 8th is 256, so on and so forth. I think this is probably sufficient. Now, 3 squared is 9. 3 to the 3rd is 27. 27. Now 3 to the 4th is 27 times 3, which gives us 81. You pretty much don't need to go much further than that. Now I could do the 4s, but I don't want to, because 4s actually just break down into 2s, so you don't really need those. But I do want you to have these in a notes section, like, I don't know, make a little chart, and have them friendly, have them close by, friendly numbers, something. Words are hard. 25 times 5. If you have 5 quarters, you have $1.25. 5 to the 4th, I want to say that this is 625, but I do need to double check that because one of my 6th graders figured out that I made a mistake on my videos. So now I'm all paranoid. Okay, so 625. Okay, good. So make sure that you have those notes. Now, if you see the number 128, 256, you're like, hey, wait, I know, okay? It's a friendly number. It's something. I gotta go look it up. All right, so with that said, if we have 3 to the 3rd power, we now know is 3 times 3, which is 9, times 3, which is 27. 3 to the 4th power, which we just talked about, is 3 times 3. We'll do it 4 times. Show you how you can break this down so you can do some side work, right? This times this is 9. This times this is 9. That is 81. 81. Okay, so let's say you are allowed to use calculators on your test because I'm not a horrible person, and you want to know what 2 to the 12th power is. 2 to the 12th power. So this is your calculator, right? All you do is you do 2, and then this lovely little button right there. Do you see that guy? It's a little caret. Looks like this. Like that, right? That's called a caret. You push the caret and it makes a little caret up there. Do you see? Caret, beautiful. 2 boosted up to the 12th power. So 2 to the 12th power looks like that. Hit enter and you get 4,096. 4,096. I've been working on my 8,000 times 2. 8192 tile forever, for like 4 years. Come on. All right, so if you wanted to do that, that's called a caret. That's how you do it on your calculator, okay? Now let's talk about some of these examples. Look at this guy, negative 3 to the 4th power. It's really easy to mess up your negative numbers, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do all this first, and when we're done, we'll slap that negative on it, okay? So let's do some side work. It's gonna be -3 4 times. If you have to write them down just to make sure. But here's another hint. Even is positive, odd is negative. So guys, if you're starting with a negative number and you have an even exponent, it is going to be positive. If you are starting with a negative number and it is an odd exponent, it is going to be negative. So -3 times -3 is positive 9. -3 times -3 is positive 9. Positive 9 times positive 9 is 81. So that was our side work. And I really mean to go off the side with it. So this garbage that I just boxed is 81, right? We just figured that out. But I have this guy that I got to bring down. So the final answer is -81. So be very careful about your signs. Okay, so for example 19.3, this is on page 83. 19.3. All right, we've got -3 cubed minus negative quantity -3 squared plus quantity -2 squared. All right, so -3, there's no parentheses here. Go back and look at your notes, right? We got to do this part first, right? Make it all squiggly so that it doesn't look like a parentheses. 3 to the 3rd we know is 27, so all this garbage equals 27. We've got to slap a negative on it, -27, minus -3 squared, side work, -3 times 2 times, right, is +9. So if it helps, draw an arrow. We brought that one down because I'm saying +9, but then you're looking and you're like, wait, that's a negative. No, I brought that negative down. That's a subtraction sign, okay? We got this guy, bring that down. Now and so it helps if you look at it like this, right? Well, I don't know why I can't draw boxes today. Okay, so now we look at this guy, we have -2 2 times. That is +4, okay? And that positive sign, that plus sign came down. Okay, so with that said, now we've done all our multiplication and all that good stuff, and when we only have addition and subtraction left, add the opposite. Makes it easier. All right, with that guy, we get -36 plus 4, okay, because I added up my negatives, right, and brought down my positive. That is going to give us -32, -32. So you got to be real careful on your signs on these guys, really careful. All right, so for 19.4, we have -2 squared minus 4, -3 cubed minus 2, -2. So you know what I'm thinking? I'm gonna change all my subtractions into pink, okay? Now, if it comes in the beginning, that's not a negative, that's actually a subtraction sign. I know that's kind of confusing, just remember that. So I'm gonna change this guy to subtraction, 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 subtraction. So guys, what we wanna do is all the purple stuff first and bring down all of our signs, okay? So we're gonna do 2 to the 4th power, or 2 to the 2nd power is 4, -3 to the 3rd power, side work, -3, -3, -3. We know it isn't, this is odd, right? So it's gonna be a negative number. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, so that's gonna be 4 times -27, okay? Over here, -2, 2 times is gonna be +4. So 2, because again, that's -2 times -2, which gives us +4. And guys, once I'm done with my parentheses, I get rid of them. I prefer a dot for multiplication, just so that I think we use parentheses too much. So, so that's that, and then there's 2, okay? I'm gonna bring down all those signs. Good, let's do all that garbage that's in, we got some garbage to do here, right? These two things. So we got 4, and then 27 times 4, I have no idea. I don't feel like doing it. 108. So that's a negative, right? -108, because a positive times a negative is a negative. This guy right here is 8. This is 2. Let's bring down our sign. Now we're at the point where we have all addition subtraction left, so we need to add the opposite. All right, so if I add the opposite, that's just going to be an extra step here, so we can just leave it. Add, and then the opposite of negative is positive. Add, and the opposite of positive is negative. Add, and negative. So our negative ones are, use another color. Here's a negative. Here's a negative. Here's a negative. 8 and 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14, so that's -4, -8, -2 is -14, plus our +8, 108. Okay, that means which team is larger? Our positive team, and by how many? I don't know, because I don't want to mess this up. So 94. So our answer is 94. Okay, the answer is 94. If you guys need to do colored pencils or something, that's fine too. You're totally welcome to do that on your homework so that you can keep track of these. 19.4. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some roots, by the way. Having a multiplication chart, a 20 by 20, if I forget to give this to you, I do have extras with me, so just ask me and I'll grab it out of my bag. This is really helpful because along the center here, and I should probably like highlight those or something, are perfect squares. 1, 4, 9, 16. So 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 5 times 5, 10 times 10, 11 times 11, 12 times 12. You get the idea, right? Those are perfect squares. So it's really easy then if I say to you, all right, square root of 49, right? You know that that equals 7, okay? Square root of 64 equals 8. All right. Now, if there's no little number here, it's assumed to be 2. You hear me saying square, and remember square is 2, right? Square is 2. You don't have to write the 2, and in fact, you probably shouldn't, because I was tutoring a kid and had a college professor like scratch it off and write no. So maybe, I don't know, I guess don't write 2. But if it's not 2, you'll be told that it's not 2, okay? And the way you'll be told that is if we do this, 327. This is a third root instead of a square root. And what that is saying is, hey, I need something to the third power that will give me 27. Now let's back up and talk about that. 3 squared is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. So do you see how this cancels out this? Okay, and again, if it's not marked, it's a 2, right? So this cancels out that. That's the same idea here. This is why you're going to want that chart where you're like, oh, what to the third power? So we come back over here, cube root of 3 to the third power, because 3 to the third power will give me 27, right? This cancels out with this, and we're left with 3. We're left with 3, okay? Now, odd, I want you to write this down too. Odd roots can be negative. Example, if I have, I gotta think of a good one. Oh, -27. No, -125. the third root of negative 125, right? That means I need something that multiplied 3 times will give me negative 125. Well, guys, it's an odd number. Negative times a negative is a positive, times a negative is a negative. So third cube root of negative 25 cubed. Let's do a little bit of side work here. If I had negative 25, negative 5, guys, I'm so sorry. Let's pretend I didn't write that. All right, negative 5 cubed, right? So if I had negative 5 to the third power, that would be negative 5, negative 5, negative 5. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25, times negative 5 would give me negative 125, okay? So if I have an odd root, it can be a negative, because now this cancels out with this, and I have negative 5. Negative 5. So guys, use that little cheat sheet that I had you create at the beginning of this lesson, right? With the 2 to the third, 2 to the fourth, 2 to the sixth, all that good stuff. That will help you out. Okay, so now we're going to evaluate some of these guys. Evaluate. Okay, so for for 19.5. 19.5. And I'm looking at this, guys. I am going to want you to do all of the problems on these for a little bit, because these are really, really important. When we get to this, just it is vital that you understand these. So I will announce that in class too, but you will need to do all the problems on these guys. All right, 19.5. So A is root 64. That is just 8. Right? 8 times 8 gives us 64. B is the fourth root of 16. So I need something to the fourth power that gives me 16. 2 to the fourth power will give me 16. This will cancel out that, and I'm left with 2. So the fourth root of 16 is 2. C, the cube root of, this pen is being weird. It's driving me nuts. All right. Very peculiar about my pens. Let's do this. No, let's not do that. Okay, I should probably not subject you to this and like pause while I sit here and figure out my pens, but I don't know how to edit, so sorry. Okay, so for C, we've got I have no idea where we went. Oh, 3. Negative 27. Negative 27. So I need something to the third power that gives me negative 27. That'd be negative 3 to the third power, because negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9 times negative 3, negative 27. So this cancels out with that, and I'm left with negative 3. Guys, this is you showing your work, okay? This is you showing your work. This is how you need to be doing these problems. So for D, I lost my spot again. Negative root 81. Well, guys, on this one, this garbage right here is 9, but there's that negative we got to deal with. So it's negative 9. Negative 9, okay? All right, so let's take a look at some of these. I need to pause for just a second. All right, you guys. So now we're going to talk about evaluating with exponents, like those things. So we're going to look at example 19.6. If A equals negative 2, what is the value of the following? So here's A squared. So if A equals negative 2, guys, if you are plugging in a negative number, use your parentheses. Parentheses squared means negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is going to be positive 4. Positive 4. B, negative A squared. Negative A squared. That means we've got negative, and then we use our parentheses because we're plugging in a negative number. And what we need to do is, and I'll use this guy here, we need to do all this first, okay? Negative 2 times negative 2 is going to be positive 4. So it's negative 4, because I got to bring that guy down here, okay? So for C, negative A to the third. Negative, use those parentheses. to the third. Negative 2 to the third power is negative 8, right? Negative and a negative is a positive, so your answer should be 8. All right, so D, golden retrievers getting excited. D is, and by the way, I'm on page 84 if you're following along, but negative A to the third. So if parentheses are already there, what I like to do is turn them into brackets. So brackets, negative A to the third, okay? Now I'm gonna insert parentheses wherever there's a variable. So brackets, negative, parentheses, brackets 3. It seems ridiculous, but this is really helpful. Negative 2, okay? Now we're gonna do all this stuff within the brackets first. Negative times a negative is a positive. So really what this is 2, all that garbage in there is 2 to the third power, which gives me 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2 is 8. So all of that equals 8. All right, so for 19.7, I'm gonna set this down. I don't wanna accidentally stop recording and then be like, oh no. All right, for 19.7, I had to cross my legs, get comfortable, because this is the good stuff, you guys. All right, evaluate x squared z3 y when x equals 2, z equals 3, y equals negative 2. All right, guys, so for this, I see a negative in here. Do you see that? That means we've got to use parentheses. So for x squared, and then z is 3, right? And know that the operation between all these is multiplication, right? And then y to the nothing power is negative 2, but I used parentheses because that's a negative. That's crucial. 2 squared is 4 times 3 to the third is 27 times negative 2. I took them out of the parentheses because I know that I've got my negative there. The parentheses are just for at the beginning when you're putting that in. I'm too lazy to do this, so 4 times 27 times 2. Do you notice I didn't deal with my signs? I just did this times this times this. That gives me 216. However, there's one negative here, and which means it's an odd number, which means our answer is going to be negative, right? Because this times this is positive times this is negative. So that's our negative answer. So I worry about my signs separately than what I am sneezing like crazy. I worry about my signs separately than I worry about my answers. All right, guys. So the practice problems, oh wait, we got another one. Another practice one. 19.8, I am on page 19. All right, PM 2 minus Z to the third. You notice I put a little line in my Z? That's what doesn't look like a 2. It's a good habit to get into, something you may want to consider. P equals 1. M equals negative 4. Z equals negative 2. I've got a bunch of negatives over here, so we're going to make good use of those parentheses. So for P, wherever there's a variable here, I'm going to put in some brackets or some parentheses. You see I've rewritten this without the variables, but with parentheses. Now we're going to go plug in. P equals 1, M equals negative 4, and Z equals negative 2. All right, so 1 times anything is itself, right? So I'm just going to get rid of that. It doesn't, totally useless. Negative 4 to the second power, quantity, negative 4 to the second power is positive 16, okay? Minus, now we got to do all this garbage here. That's going to be negative 2 times negative, that gives us a positive 4, right? Side work if you have to, please. Don't make a silly mistake. This is going to be 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8, okay? So negative 8. Now we're going to add the opposite. 16 plus positive 8, right? That'll give us 24. So for that example, we've got 24. All right, guys, so the practice problems are on page 85 at the top. There's A through H. What I'd like you to do is pause the video, give those an attempt, come on back, and make sure you're writing those down in your notes because I want to see those notes section, okay? Those notes sections. All right, so for A, we have negative 2 squared. Actually, okay, guys, so I won't do C yet. So quantity negative 2 squared, remember that's going to be 4. This one, negative 4. Remember the difference on those, okay? Remember the difference. Now let's talk about C. And guys, I think it's helpful to write those without, or with different colors, right? So I'm going to show you. All right, so writing it with different colors, I'm going to use, where did my red go? Remember, this is not a negative, it's a subtraction. I know that seems weird, just roll with me on that, okay? So now we're gonna go back and do all of our garbage. 3 to the third is gonna be 27. Quantity -2 squared is gonna be +4. And this is gonna be +4. So now what we have is -27 minus 4 minus 4. We don't subtract, we add the opposite, okay? So now we have a bunch of negatives. So this is -27 plus -8, that's gonna give us -35. -35. All right, so that was for C. Let's look at D. Cube root of -64. Cube root of -64. Again, that means we need something to the third power. That gives us 64. So on your chart, you may not have written these down, but 4 squared is 16. 4 to the third is 64. Okay, let me just double check. But yeah, I don't know why I second guess myself, but ever since I made that mistake, I'm like, oh my God. So times 4, and then 4 to the fourth equals 256. So you may want to go write those back down with your little cheat sheet, okay? So something to the third power that will give us -64. Again, this is odd, so we're allowed to be negative underneath there, okay? So that's going to be -4 to the third power, because if you did -4 times -4 times -4, you get -64. This cancels out with this, and you are left with -4. So your answer should be -4. And guys, this is how you need to be showing your work on these. If you are not, you're not going to get credit. I'm going to look at that and say, do over, do over. All right, so for E, we have -3 to the third plus cube root of -27. -3 to the third power is -27, okay? Because it's negative times negative times negative. That's odd, right? Plus the cube root of, and -27 is -3 to the third power. These guys cancel out, so I get -27 plus -3 equals -30. Equals -30. Good. All right, so F, I'm going to write this guy down again. -3 to -3 cube root of a -8 minus 16. Okay, so again on this guy, I want to, let's make these, or all of our subtraction or addition and subtraction, we're going to change that to red. Now you may have to rewrite it. Sorry, I didn't do that part, but okay, so we're going to do this guy first, and that's 9. And then in here, what we have is cube root of -2 to the third. And then we have, this is a 2, right? The square root of 16 is 4, right? So we're going to bring down all those signs. We know that this guy goes away with that. So what we really have is -9 minus -2 minus 4. Now that we've done all our multiplication, division, all that, we're going to add the opposite. Add the opposite, add the opposite, okay? -9, -4 gives us -13 plus 2, okay? -13 plus 2. That's going to give us -11. So that was for F. All right, so G, we have x squared z to the third y. X equals -3, z equals -2, and y equals -2. All right, so when we have these negatives over here, use parentheses. So x, I'm going to go ahead and plug in some parentheses wherever I have a variable. You see that? So x used to be here, z used to be here, y used to be here. So x is -3, z is -2, and y is -2. Okay. So just make sure I wrote everything down right. I did. Okay, so -3 squared is going to be +9. And remember, the operation between all these is multiplication. -2 to the third power is -8 times -2. We have 2 negatives here, right? And that's an even number, so it's going to be positive. We've got 9 times this is 16, right? So 16 times 9, 144 equals 144, 144. All right, you guys, oh, we have H left to do. B squared minus 4AC if B equals -4, A equals -3, C equals -5. Look at all those lovely negatives. That means we got to use parentheses. -4 times A times C. All right, so B is -4. A is -3. C is -5. -4 squared is going to be 16 minus 4 times, and I'm rewriting these just so that you can see. My subtraction is the one that I want to rewrite. So I have not gone anywhere. How have I lost a marker? How does that even happen? All right, I'll use this one. I just changed my subtraction sign to a red one so that you can see how this works, okay? So I'm going to bring my 16 down, and then I need to do this chunk right here. 4 times -3 is -12, right? -12 side work, -12 times -5 is going to be positive 60. So all this garbage is positive 60. Now, oops, I hit a weird button. Okay, so now I got to bring this guy down like that, right? So if I add the opposite, 16 plus -60, the negative team is larger, right? And it is larger by 44. -44. And now I'm paranoid that I'm making mistakes. It's 44. Good. Okay, so that would be our answer for that guy. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do number 15 with you for the homework. So it's on the same page, okay? So for those of you who are watching the videos, good work, because now you know you're getting this one right. Go ahead and pause it right now and try and do 15 and then come on back. Oh, shoot. I was pressing on my computer. Ah. Okay, so go ahead and do 15, or pause the video, do 15 and come on back. Okay, so I gotta move my book, obviously. So 15 is -x squared minus y to the third. X equals -3, y equals -2. Okay, again, we've got negatives over here. Let's use those parentheses. Negative parentheses squared minus parentheses cubed. Do you see that? Now for x, I'm going to plug in -3, and for y, I'm plugging in -2. Okay? So again, I want to treat these guys right here. I found my pen. You know what? I'm going to rewrite it down below so we don't lose track. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it like this. Negative. Because remember, a negative at the very front is a subtraction sign, not a negative. Subtraction. All right, so we want to do all this garbage that's not in pink, right? We want to do all that first. Quantity -3 squared is going to be +9. -2 to the third power is -8. Now let's bring down our signs. Negative, negative. So what we have is -9 minus -8, but we don't subtract, we add, and then the opposite of negative, positive. Good. Negative team is larger by 1. Okay, negative team is larger by 1. So guys, for lesson number 19, your homework. So problem set 19. I want you to do numbers 3 through 29. 3 through 29. Excellent work, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll go from there. Thank you so much.